Kia ora everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Optimize. We are your hosts Fraser and Steve, and today we've got I'd say a topic that definitely struck a chord or a tendon or a ligament when we decided to talk about this, Steve. We're going to be talking about our injuries, our setbacks, and the silver linings that came with them.
Yeah, man. I think for a lot of our listeners, they're going to be managing injuries all the time, whether they're chronic or they were previously injured before they got into, trying to fix their body or still doing, mainly jiu-jitsu. A lot of people find yoga for those reasons. But either way, we'll be able to navigate that space and sort of unpack what we've been through and hopefully shed some light on methods that worked for us and positives that came, with the injuries.
And it's funny you say that because I think jiu-jitsu has healed a couple of niggles that I've had, and I know that yoga is also known to be like, you don't want to create excessive laxity in the ligaments. So yin-yang duality again, it goes both ways.
For sure, man, and like a lot of the time that I spent when I was touching base on yoga, like I didn't even have the ability to move into the position to help strengthen it. Like I was so tight from jujitsu, whereas I feel like you already moved pretty well when you got into jujitsu, so you would have just been almost greasing the groove, hips working well, shoulders do what they're meant to do.
Yeah, and then just slowly becoming more and more stiff as I continued.
Yeah, that's been the toll. You have to pay the toll to reverse that. Now, I've got a theory, man, that like combat sports is just one of those things that we just stack tension on. Like,
Yeah.
and this is a big problem I've had with the strength and conditioning coaches that don't train combat sport. They program something, they stick to their little plan, their lesson plan, like it's set in stone, and their athletes were fighting to the death on a random Tuesday night when they weren't, meant to, and then they're due for heavy squats on Wednesday. It's like, bro, session's got to change,
Oh yeah.
otherwise, yeah,
And
like,
combat sport, it must be one of the most intensely draining on the nervous system activities you can do. You're actually fighting for your life.
correct. Yes, correct. Like the CNS is absolutely toast
Yeah.
after sparring or rolling if
Yeah.
it's high intensity, and that's something that needs to be taken into account. And this is something that I've just loved during. I'll talk first injury, the
Mm.
PCL. I'm posterior cruciate ligament, full rupture. I'm 7 weeks today since that injury happened, and I
Mm.
have loved being able to hit the gym with such a high intensity because I don't need to leave anything in the tank for rolling in the
Mm.
evening.
Knowing that
And
you've got the time to recover adequately.
yeah, and still replicating what I need for the grappling rounds. Like, like it'll be so easy to just go sort of hypertrophy focus or rehab focus, but then I'm not giving my system what it actually needs to replicate when I get back on the mats.
Mm.
Like it's all well and true in theory that I'm going to go back and roll nicely and stay calm. But no, like I'll be toast and I'll get after it.
It is truly a puzzle for coaches and athletes to understand how to balance in-season training and not overloading an athlete because I wonder what the magic age is where you've got the potential to become a professional athlete and to be really good at a particular sport and you suffer an injury. Say if you're 15, 16, 17, 18, or it might even be those first early years of university, you've suffered a pretty gnarly injury that's kept you out for 3 to 6 months. It's it's just such a puzzle to try figure out how we prevent these things. And I know you and I have both had multiple injuries throughout our development, and we're going to cover at least 2 to 3 of our major injuries so the audience can kind of hear our points of views and where we were mentally at that point, and then we'll go over some of the unforeseen, I guess, silver linings and unexpected growth that we got from it. So
Yeah,
you were
we got.
saying,
Yep.
yeah, you go.
I was just going to say you touched on high school. I'd say that's when the majority of them happen. Like we go from like just excelling at everything we do. We're still gaining coordination. We haven't built proper movement foundations unless we did gymnastics or
Yep.
CrossFit for kids, or you know what I mean, like some
Yep.
form of sport that allowed us to dynamically uh, move and
Yeah.
grow. And then you hit high school, and boom, testosterone. You start to change. You start to get after it. And
Yeah.
if you're not moving properly and you don't have the foundational strength and flexibility, guess what? Something in the chain goes, some catastrophic injury happens. Fortunately, we recover like Wolverine at that age, so we just usually get on with life.
I
But
wish. That
yeah,
guy's lived like 10 lifetimes.
yeah, yeah. Well, you kick us off, brother. Tell us about your, I believe we're going ACL.
Yeah, man. Let me take you back. I'll paint the picture. We had just won the basketball competition for secondary schools. We had won 3 years running. I think Southern Boys, my high school, we had won 5 or 6, you know, concurrently, one after the other. And the Southland Sharks had a basketball team within the first couple of years. This professional or semi-professional basketball team was down home, and I started training with the squad. And it was at a point where the body started to peak. Um, the first year of university, I'd started to dunk the basketball. The night before moving up to Arana, the hall of residence that we stayed at,
Filthy.
played high level club basketball for the first year. Managed to make the highest team, start getting decent minutes, and I could feel it was all starting to culminate. I was going to go to the Otago Nuggets trials in 2 weeks, but I had been drinking alcohol for 2 weeks straight at Rhythm and Vines. Many adolescents, many students will be able to understand what Rhythm and Vines entails, especially at that point, being a
Yeah,
young male. You've got a group of 30 of you boys in a big deck chair circle,
yeah.
and I went straight back into sprinting and changing direction.
Mm.
Bam! I what I think fully ruptured the ACL on the first injury. The physio said, give it 6 weeks, which I did, and I re-injured it 3 times throughout the next year.
Ah, repetitive.
Repetitive, and to the point where I was going to change direction, decelerate, and then push off, and the knee would just feel like bam, like there was no ligament or elasticity holding it in place. It was just bam.
Yep.
And it was at that point where I had to get an MRI scan, and sure enough, the specialist doctor said, "Yep, you have a complete rupture. You need to have an operation to fix it." And that was a year after the initial injury. And I later found out, talking to the old All Blacks physiotherapist, Pete Gallagher, he was like, "Oh yeah, alcohol intake directly correlated with soft tissue injury
Yeah.
because we dehydrate the ligaments and the tendons so much from copious amounts of alcohol in the sun all day, and then 2 weeks after that, going back to sprinting on the court on a hard, grippy court and trying to change direction, and
Yeah. Cruciate as well. So you got the surgery.
got the surgery, managed to rehabilitate pretty well. Stopped drinking for that entire time, 9 months.
Yeah, nice. At,
And
20, at 19, 18, 19?
yeah, that would have been 19, 20,
20, cool. Yeah.
probably 20 years old. And I drove the starters van. It was an old bar that a few of us
Yeah.
worked at. My older brother worked at, and I was just doing the picking up of the first year students from the halls.
Yeah, filthy, filthy job.
But
Someone's
yeah,
got.
man, there was a big identity shift around that time, big
Yeah.
mindset shift, and eventually that injury led to a deeper focus and research on breathing, which has led
Yeah.
to the creation of Om and what we're doing now. That was
So
my
it's
big that was my big injury. Yeah.
that's a crucial time for it to happen. Yeah, I like very few people will take that much time off drinking at 18 to 21. So good credit to you, man, because I haven't had knee surgery, but I have heard horror stories when people get them done and they don't take the rehab and recovery seriously enough, and they become repetitive injuries. We just had the other day, or like last month, one of the girls who's had knee surgeries. she unfortunately got choked out in a jiu-jitsu competition
It's unfortunate.
simulation. And as she passed out, all of the weight went onto her knees because body weight slumps. And the previous surgery of the knee, not used to that much knee flexion, and now we've got swelling and movement patterns are completely compromised, And so I respect people that have gone through surgery and come out the other side. It's,
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. And I definitely still had the will to win and the will to play professional sport at that point. And it's only within the last couple of years that I've really had to, you know, perspectives have changed. I've got a young family,
mm,
got multiple jobs and businesses, and it's just like something's got to give. That dream of playing pro sport is like, it's probably
yeah,
not
yeah.
going to happen. Yeah.
I see it all the time. Like a guy comes into the gym, one of my favorite training partners, Brody, and he was like, "I could break my knee on Saturday, and I'll be back in here on Monday, like for you for the rounds for the boys." And then you have a kid, and no, don't touch my legs. I gotta
Yeah,
walk.
yeah, yeah. Exactly,
Yeah.
man. Can't spend that
So
much time away from home anymore.
nah, and also like you said, priorities change. Like you sometimes have to have those experiences which shock the system. Like I felt bulletproof. I felt like a lot of my injuries were before I was 20. Like all of
Okay.
them. I'd broken 15 bones before I was 18.
Whoa.
Yeah, lots. Like collarbone, arms, wrists, ankles, knees. Like the patella snapped in half. Like, and, yeah, and so
Damn.
I, yeah, I had a like terrible foundation of movement anyway because I just kept like I was in like a knee brace and I'd still be doing backflips, like one-legged. So I'd be teaching myself to do backflips on one leg because I just operated with things that I wanted to. I had goals, I had things I wanted to achieve, and breaking a bone was literally just getting in a cast and knowing that that was safe. I remember
Yeah.
I Otago Rugby League. The physio, I'd broken my wrist, and the physio put me in a special type of cast that legally I could play with. And so I'm whacking people with this hammer. Like
Oh my.
my fend became so powerful.
Oh,
Uh,
ridiculous.
so broken bones don't really. When people tell me they've broken lots of bones, it's kind of like, they recover. They usually come back stronger. But
Six
ligaments,
weeks.
yeah, connective tissue, not 6 weeks. So
Yeah.
the PCL for me was a nice opener. I thought, shit, this is my first cruciate. 35 this year. These
Mm,
aren't meant to attach, or like, you're probably going to need some surgery. So, again, the power of prehab and
mm.
training adequately throughout, your life. When these injuries do happen, sometimes they reattach without surgery. And so, pretty happy that mine wasn't, yeah, getting cut
Yeah.
open, getting
It's
the knife.
rare, and it's amazing to think that the cruciate ligaments can do that. And if anyone listening doesn't isn't fully aware of the cruciates, you can think of your thigh bone, your femur, your two shin bones. You've got the knee in the middle. The cruciate ligaments create a cross like
Mm,
pattern. You can think of two strings holding these uh, bones together on opposite sides of the knee joint.
mm,
The ACL stops the tibia from moving forward, vice versa. The PCL stops the tibia from moving backwards in relation to the femur.
yeah,
And it's pretty, like, when you think about it, it's like we've got these two strings through the middle of the joint, these two plasters on the outside,
yeah,
the collateral ligaments. The knee is, especially with all the sitting we do, it's probably the biggest culprit. ACLs are a big
yeah,
injury. PCLs not as common, but
yeah.
pretty gnarly.
And muscle, like you said, teenage years, muscle's growing. If we're not
Yeah.
training connective tissue at a rate that can keep up with that muscle growth, this is a problem with guys that are on juice. They're always sore ligaments, sore tendons. The muscle's too strong for what the load that they can put through the joint. Interestingly enough, I had a flashback as I found out it was a fully ruptured PCL. The physio, oh dear.
Yeah.
Uh, I thought back to science, and I remember our science teacher cutting the cruciate ligament on a deer leg, and
Yeah.
and now the knee just folds in half, and everything just fell to shit. And it's like, and that's what I was thinking as soon as it happened. I was like, goodness me. But yeah, so between you and me, we've done all the ligaments in the knee. I've done cruciate, PCL, You've done the ACL. I've done a rupture of my LCL, and I've torn my MCL as
Yeah.
well.
I did my
So,
MCL playing rugby third form, fourth form. So like thinking 15, 16. Put the leg in a ruck to try clear the ball, and then someone just drove over.
oh
Knee was not in
man,
the right position.
yeah. That's a good segue for me to come in here with how I did mine. So
Mm,
interesting here. I'm going to touch on the knee, but I'll do
mm.
the trampolining was my injury,
Oh, gnarly.
and I'll be very impressed if you can guess how it happened. I did not hit the steel. I did not fall off.
Okay. Was it something like a double jump maneuver where like you'd kind of got the recoil of the jump, but it didn't? You know when you see trampolinists finish their performance and they go
Yes,
like the double
they
jump?
get
Was that when you did it?
exactly that motion. But the reason the break happened was because my quads were so tight and my hamstrings were so weak that
Mm-hmm.
merely bouncing on a trampoline pulled my kneecap in half.
Ooh.
So it's important to note, like I started trampolining, only child, lots of time. I started doing flips when I was like 8, and I was flipping off the roof onto the ground. The neighborhood hated me. The parents like were like, "Don't go see that guy," because it would be like
You
I'd
gotta
be
teach
like
my kids.
9, yeah, and I'd be teaching 16-year-olds how to do backflips off the tramp onto the ground. It's like their first
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
So so I had this baseline where I could already, for track record, I'd landed double forward flips, I'd landed double back flips, 720s. I was confident in my ability to spin through space and land. And a trampoline gave me a sense of like, you know, endless hours because it's not too
Mm,
much load. But I wasn't working my hamstrings. I wasn't sprinting, I wasn't doing Nordics, I had no
mm,
strength. And
mm.
then the quads just kept pulling on that patella tendon and snap.
Might I
Yeah,
add, that's incredible athleticism at a young age. You know,
yeah.
the vast majority of people will never land a front flip or a forward flip, let alone a double. And yeah, sure, like
Mm.
trampoline, you'd probably be able to train up to that point, but it's crazy athleticism and coordination to be able to put those forces through the body and maintain control.
Yeah, it's fearless at that age.
Yeah, yeah,
And I also had that record of like when bones break, I'm fine. I come back. Nothing
yeah.
stops me. And so like yeah, I'm out there in a cast doing like one-legged backflips off the tramp onto the ground,
And
like
then
dumb.
you get to like 17, 18, and you learn about these things called ligaments
Yeah.
and
So
tendons.
but like again, like it's like riding a bike. Like I've got still got standing backflips now on
Mm,
flat ground. I like can just throw them up, which
hmm.
is I'm super grateful for that sort of baseline. But I'll bring in a horror story here for our listeners. I had one injury that's made me so squeamish over the years. I think about it every now and then, and it's a funny one. So I'm pushing the shopping trolley with my
Mm.
drunk 15-year-old friends. We're all out having a great night Friday night, and I've got like three of the boys in the shopping trolley. I'm pushing them up this driveway, full speed, like sprinting, and one of them jumps out into a bush because that's what 15-year-old boys do. The weight distribution changes,
Yeah.
and my hands go straight into the concrete at full speed, and all
And
of
like
my
you
finger.
went down.
Yeah, I got one hand out, which only had like one fingernail broken, but the other hand, every fingernail except the pinky was shattered, and one
Ugh.
of them that actually got compressed so badly that the like roots came out of the fingernail backwards, and
Oh.
and I'm like, I went to hospital obviously, and they brought my dad in at like 3 in the morning, and this lady, like this nurse or doctor, she's like, "You're lucky your son's pissed off his head because this is a horrific injury," and they had to put anesthetic needles, 4 needles in each finger, and then they had to pull the fingernail shards
Oh
out of
my.
and that's worse than any bloody broken bone. I'll tell you that much for free.
Wow, I'd say it must be, males at that age that have some of the gnarliest injuries because, as you said, it's fearlessness.
It's dumb.
You are completely like no inhibitions and you just do things, balls to
Mm.
the wall, no care of what could happen. And
Yeah.
there's no real ramifications. You don't have a family or a job or things that you kind of need to be able to move.
Oh yeah, and most people do solve like okay, the human body's amazing at compensating and
Mm,
finding ways to achieve our target, to achieve our
mm,
goal. Like, I've heard this example before. It's like you try to reach for the popcorn or the remote or the controller and you can't reach it because your dog's on you or whatever. And then subconsciously, you're like, I'm going to get that. And you don't know that you're protracting or that your rotator cuffs are extending by 10%,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you reach it the second or third time you go for it. Whether or not you do that with optimal forms, probably not. But that's what we do when we get injured. Like
Yeah.
you see these
Yeah.
boys jump straight back on the court, the field, jujitsu,
Hmm.
and you will train and you will still do achieve the goals, but you are reinforcing bad movement patterns and compensating somewhere down the chain. So there's a time
Big
limit.
time. Okay, so you had the PCL, which is recent. You're going through that now. You had the
Yeah.
fingernails when you were 15. Any head injuries?
Yeah. That was the beginning of jujitsu, bro. So playing league,
Mm.
and one bad head knock, was
How,
enough to get me out of the game.
how bad are we talking?
Traumatic, mild traumatic brain injury. So I had bleeding into my parietal lobe, and yeah, so that was gross. And I'd say that that's the worst injury I've had, just purely because of what you have to overcome, uh, in those dark places. Like I couldn't exercise, I couldn't listen to music,
Mm.
watch TV, couldn't read, couldn't study, and just like yeah, you get headaches, you feel sick, your personality was like, yeah, in question. And just being in the hospital overnight and they're like, where are you? Like, what's your
Mm.
age? What's your address? And you're like, shit, the brain is one of those things that you don't want to mess with.
Oh yeah.
It's the reason I never followed MMA. I trained boxing and MMA for, I trained for, I like those sports. But yeah, jujitsu was like the gentle art. And I'll do this while I wait to go back to rugby league and never went back. Just was like, nah, I'm good here. I'm
Well,
good
I'd say
here.
that's a silver lining because league,
Bro, for sure.
you can get king hit. Not as much these days, but league used to be pretty gnarly for contact injuries.
Oh
And
man, and I remember my dad. My dad's an avid league fan, and he said like, "I'd like you to do something else." And I think I just got Player of the Year, most tries scored. I was in a
mm,
pretty good space to sort of keep developing,
mm.
and I was like, "Yep, I'm out. I'm good, man." Like,
Yeah, you only need one major injury to the most important organ, the brain, you'd probably say, before you realize a sport isn't necessarily everything in life. This
immediate.
isn't, often we wrap our identity up into these sports. I was a basketball player. I was going to play professional basketball. That was the dream and the goal. I wish I was 6'6". It would have helped. But coming back to the concussion, talk to me about where you went mentally, like self-esteem, confidence, and how did you have
Yeah.
to develop some resilience?
So I was 22, so I was
Mm.
still, in my opinion, a child. Like I was still developing,
Hmm.
and that was sort of like, again, I rushed back. I did the head injury in September, and I was doing like the territorials training for the army in November. And yeah, so I probably shouldn't have pushed it. Like I had to jump through some hoops to get medical cleared. But I just needed something in my life challenging and stimulating because I felt like I'd been unable. And
Yep.
it's not a good feeling when you go from being, like pretty good at what you do. You've got
The
all these
guy.
goals. Yeah. And then you're like, all of a sudden, you're just can't do anything. And you, like you said, you attach your identity to how you perform
Mm.
and what you can do and how able you are. So to me, a lot of it came back down to patience. I had to teach myself like it's going to come right. Um,
Mm.
you know, keep reminding yourself that this is that sometimes I've been told by the neurologist that
Yep.
sometimes they heal overnight. They
Yeah.
just
Well.
yeah, and so I was almost just waiting for those moments to happen. And I remember the distinct moment. I lived on Baldwin Street at the time, the steepest street in the
Was that
world.
where you were pushing the trolley that time as well?
I no
Good.
no
Good.
no. This is the death stories. No, I the novelty of that street did wear off though, like carrying groceries up and down bloody mountains,
Oh, for
and
sure.
then but yeah, so I was living on Baldwin Street at the time, and every time I would have to walk home from Like, I'm doing hubs and stuff as well at uni, and it's just a nightmare.
Oh,
And
it's a big mission, big walk.
yeah, yeah, and like my brain just wasn't working. And I remember this one time I'm walking up, and then all of a sudden, life felt good. And I'm like,
Mm,
I can run, I can move, my head's okay. And this is about 3 days before I went to the territorials. So I just had to ride out that wave and try to stay
yeah.
positive, which ultimately you get good at doing when you
Mm,
have these injuries. You pick physical, mental goals, learn a language, develop another skill set. But a brain injury, you're very limited with, and you just have to be patient and keep
mm,
good people around you, keep the mood
yeah.
positive.
Good energy. And I love that you said you had the mindset and the belief that this thing is going to get better. And important to note that, like, the mere fact that the doctor said some of these can just heal overnight, some of these neurological brain trauma, they can just heal overnight. Having
Mm.
that implanted into your brain as a young athlete, 22, you'd just be, boom, I'm going to be one of those cases. And you could literally manifest that
I believe fully,
cellular restoration.
fully in that. I'm sure that you've experienced it as well as like, yeah, psycho-cybernetics. You
Mm,
focus on what you want, focus on your goal, focus on your target, and don't try and solve it. Just
mm,
believe in your body and your mind to subconsciously get there.
yeah.
And it's very, very possible that things that we can't understand, we can't articulate, but our body and brain just figure it out.
Yeah, man. Like epigenetics as well. Bruce Lipton, he looks into some. It's declared fringe science because we can't fully quantify it and prove it yet. But no doubt in my mind that if you have sustained attention on any particular thing, you can create that in your life. I.e.,
Mm.
sustained attention, where attention goes, energy flows. You keep telling yourself, my brain's going to heal. My brain's going to heal. If you were, however, not in the right environment, you didn't have good people around you, and you may have been starting to tell yourself, I'm broken.
Mm.
My brain's been broken for good. You can go down a pretty deep and dark road downhill. So for all those young athletes out there that are potentially going through that at the moment, set yourself up and continue to tell yourself, know that you are going to heal and come back from this thing. It's a very important point.
And there are milestones to tick off along the way because a lot of people do just jump back into basketball after a
Mm.
surgery. They might test a few squats and they might do a little bit of proprioception. They're like, "Yeah, man, I'm good." You're not good. You got to build
Yeah.
up the strength. You got to take your time getting back into it, but you will get there
Yeah.
if you do the work. And there's so many, like, we stand on the shoulders of giants. There's so many
Yeah.
people that I've learned from that have had
Mm.
catastrophic injuries and they've been able to achieve, very great feats. Like my coach, my flexibility coach, Lucas Aaron, powerlifting,
Mm.
bicep rupture, tight rig. This guy's got full front split, full side split, back bridge. Like, shouldn't be able to move like that, but
Mm.
paid the toll and got himself where he needs to be.
It's often the case, isn't it? Some of the most successful people out there in any field, they have a big setback, especially with athletes. Like often strength and conditioning coaches or doctors, rehabilitation specialists, they come from a big injury and they want to
Mm.
help people heal from those things as well.
Yeah, yeah, they've got that data. Did you do anything else apart from the ACL? Is there anything?
The ACL was definitely the biggest.
Yeah.
I've had a number of injuries, like a dislocated thumb, 2 or 3 times from basketball, and that was a bit yuck because I remember being in the shower sometimes and even just touching it with too much force on the outer side of the thumb joint, the thumb would just kind of dislocate because
Gross.
I had dove and the thumb had landed on the basketball and just popped the whole thing out. So the ligaments had been stretched so much,
Uh,
and it took a lot. It took a long time, probably like I'd say a solid year before I didn't kind of keep re-niggling it.
mm, I understand.
Yeah.
They take time. They do. Is that the same hand that you had the? Uh,
Different side actually. Left side's
okay,
the Jupitrons. Yeah, and that's
Jupitron.
actually all good. Yeah, and that's not an injury. It was my right thumb, so like dribbling and shooting,
Ah, all the stuff you need to do.
Yeah, and like writing.
Kind of
um,
important, eh?
yeah, so had the little MCL when I was coming up through high school. I'd say the next biggest was a tweak to my right ankle.
Nice.
And usually it's an ATFL, an anterior talofibular ligament, where the ankle kind of rolls out.
Yep.
This one is where the ankle rolls in, and it's
Yeah.
only 15% or so of total ankle sprains.
Very uncommon. Yep.
Very uncommon, and it wasn't fully debilitating. I could still go for the run, I could still lift, but when I wanted to sprint and change direction, it would always come back to say hello.
Yeah.
Uh, and that probably took a solid 6 months, if not more, just to get to the point where um, I know I can go 100% and change direction. And I would say the strength and conditioning side of these things, the stronger we become, the more durable we become, and we're just less likely to get injured.
Bro, like it's so crucial that you've highlighted that. Because I can talk ankles all day. And
Jiu-jitsu.
bro,
Welcome.
they are up my alley. First one, 13, full sprinting, foot went into a rabbit hole,
Mm.
bang.
Oh, gnarly.
Yeah, two weeks later, walking down the stairs on crutches, slipped, same side. And like I have bits of ossified bone and scar tissue that I can like you hear this stuff, it's horrific. And I was due for surgery when I was 26.
Mm.
And I had a good surgeon that said, I can cut you open, I can make a bunch of money, but
Did he
you
tell you
can.
that?
Yeah, she said it was a she, one of the best surgeons in Auckland for ankles. And she said that she could cut me open, make a bunch of money, but she's like, if you want to continue performing sport at the rate that you are, it's probably better that you just work around this until you cannot
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be out of the game for 6 to 9 months with recovery. And I
Mm.
listened, and then I had just so many other ankle injuries with jiu-jitsu. I had to tap early because I was still understanding that my ankles are
Yeah,
coming right.
yeah.
I actually like redid the injury trying to do body triangles. If anyone in jiu-jitsu
Mm.
knows what that is, like it just shouldn't hurt your ankles. I couldn't sit on a Caesar kneeling position, and I
Oh, man.
even broke my own ankle again, mounted triangling somebody. I felt those ligaments go
Oh,
bang.
man.
So I had this like gross ankle that's just full of yeah, limitations.
You
And
would have been strapping it?
I did. It was the days that I didn't strap it that these things would happen.
Yeah.
And just like you said, Phrase, the strength was missing. In range, strength, and compounding effects over time,
Yeah.
moving that ankle to its capacity,
Mm.
learning how my feet and my toes could
Mm.
amplify tension through plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, and being strong through those ranges of motion.
Yeah.
I don't have a tib raise, but I would tape kettlebells around my feet
Yeah.
and I'd strengthen my tibialis muscle. And over time, now I can like almost stand with my toes tucked underneath, straight upright. If anyone knows Craig Jones, he can walk on his feet like that. I'm working towards that. And that's just something that my foot was a brick. Like this thing did not move.
Yeah.
And it was you, brother, who highlighted the importance of feet in my life.
Mm. Feet weak.
Talk feet weak, bro. Plantar fasciitis, tib sling. I just started really strengthening and unlocking a bunch of that stuff. I'd live on a stick. I'd be
Yeah.
rolling the bottom of my feet out and my
Yeah.
calves, and once that worked, like it wasn't affecting my squat at all. I thought for sure the reason I couldn't squat was because of my ankles. It
Mm.
wasn't. We can unpack that another day, but just had to basically unlock that range and strength, and everything came right at the foot. Very simple
Oh,
joint.
man, it's the foot and ankle joint because we wear restrictive footwear so much, they can just not be equipped to handle some of the forces we put through them if we've been developing strength through the legs and the rest of the body. So like Victor Wembanyama, 7'6" NBA phenom, he's
Oh,
doing crazy like hyper arch. If you've heard of the hyper arch protocol, it's a good thing to look up for all the listeners. It's lots of kind of plantar fascia based spring elastic mechanism priming for the feet, and he's doing all these movements at 7'6", and seeing
Awesome.
how agile he is, it's amazing, man.
Yeah. We want those big, wide surface area feet. Like, especially in New Zealand. Like, man, come on. We live on an island. We should
Yeah.
all have island feet.
Mm.
Get out of here. Nothing pisses me off more than when my fighters show up for S&C in high-heeled, thick shoes. You fight barefoot. You roll barefoot. Like,
Yeah.
get those things off.
You should run barefoot more often, but if you
I
haven't
got the
done it in
feet.
a long time, start slow.
Yeah, bro, I've got my Vivos. They're 4 years in.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
them. I went for my first run yesterday, 7 weeks PCL, and I felt my feet muscles just, I have DOMs like nothing
Oh,
else.
running in
Oh,
Vivos. If
yeah.
you're new to it, everyone, I wouldn't recommend it straight away.
Yeah,
Definitely ease yourself into that.
yeah, slow and steady, guys. You have to learn how to land softly and
Yeah,
like almost pull, right? Like not heel
yeah,
striking.
yeah. Running mechanics is a big
Yeah.
part to prevent that.
I
I
think
would
more,
before we start closing up, Steve. I have to say my lower back is the last injury I want to highlight, and it's been with me for about a year. I've just been niggly. It's not there every day, but I'd say at least once a week if I try to squat heavy, which is how I did the injury,
Mhm.
it's still showing up just a little bit niggly. And I even got a spine distraction technique where I actually lay down on a bench and the machine hooked up around my hips, and it would slowly pull the spine back and forth with the aim to refill the intervertebral discs with fluid,
Fluid,
because
yes.
my lower lumbar were relatively compressed. And in saying that, most people will get an X-ray and they'll have pretty decent intervertebral disc dehydration if you're over the age of 30 or 40. It's not to say that you're going to be feeling pain from that, but with mine, I've definitely, it's like I took it for granted. Back pain is something that haunts a third of the world's population at some point in their life, and you know when you've got an injury, even if it's not fully debilitating, it's always lowering your frequency.
Sure.
It's always bringing you down a little bit, and
So have you squatted since the injury?
yeah, yeah, big time.
How did it go?
Like relatively good, hot and cold. Sometimes really good, sometimes not so good. And if I've been loading the body too much, trying to run, trying to do yoga. My job
Yeah.
is teaching
Yeah.
and creating yoga programs, so that's kind of like a lot of load, but I don't consider it physical load
Yeah.
as much just because it's a job. But one thing I would say is getting a true core brace, which happens when squatting heavy, is actually seeming to build this thing back up.
For sure.
It's like squatting heavy is what injured it, and I've been afraid
Yep.
of it for so long. Sure enough, the motor units recruited when you've got that heavy load, it's turning the transverse abdominis on. Something's happening.
Bingo. Bro, squatting, heavy lifts are a skill. And this is a problem with periodization linear models, is that you don't get to practice that skill. You piss
Yeah,
around building volume over 4 to 8 weeks for this big, massive effort, like for your peaking date. They're usually 3 to 9 months for linear periodization, which is when you get to hit your big strength
yeah,
lift.
yeah,
Um, Most people need to lift heavy and they need to do it often in order to develop the skill.
yeah,
And this is like squatting is probably the main one. People throw out their lower back and they're like, oh, I'm never doing that again.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, it's like, again, bracing the breath, learning how to actually form that 360 brace, getting
Mm,
good squat mechanics, understanding that there's, alignment through the hips that we need to hold in place, and assessing if you're weak through the quads and thoracic. But lunges, you can build ridiculously heavy lunges
hmm
and it won't affect. You'll still pack on a good amount of strength when it comes to your squat, but you won't rack up your lower back. A lot of the lower back pain that my jiu-jitsu guys have is from tight hamstrings. They get compressed and stacked, and their lower back flares up. Same, they go grubby on the weights, they get greedy, and their lower back gets injured.
Yeah.
We've started messing around with ramping contractions from internally rotating the femur
Mm-hmm.
inside the pelvis
Mm-hmm.
and kicking our heel into a wall or an object that's immovable, firing up the glute and breathing into that space, and you
Yeah.
actually can start to feel that decompression of the lower back.
Yes.
And for a lot of them, that's been enough. Add
Yep.
that in the prep, and now they're squatting heavy. Yeah, it's just like I do think that there's something to be said about ducking that skill. Like if you're
Yep.
listening to this and you want to train and you're like, oh, I've got an injury that I need to get around. Um, Warm up
Mm.
dynamically, hit some plyos, and then practice heavy lifts, 5 to 8 reps, and just do one set, upper
Mm.
push, upper pull, lower body pull, hinge or squat. Get
Mm-hmm.
strong, and over
Yep.
time, those become to the point where you actually don't need the stars to be aligned to be warm and to move. It's just
I,
practice.
Bo, beautifully said. Important you were talking about that internally rotated glute drive to get the glute medius firing up because every physio and his dog will say you've got to build and recondition the glute medius if you've got lower back pain, and sure enough
Mm.
it usually helps.
Yeah. Or the
um,
piriformis, if he's
yeah
jacked up, he,
yeah it's a very complex region is the hips, and there's a lot of different muscles and layers going through it. But I would say, thinking of it a bit more globally, when I squatted with heavy weight, because of all my yoga, all my deep, deep back bending to the point
mm,
where the back of my head is touching my toes, like
is an
bridging
arch.
to, like,
Mm,
it did create excessive um, laxity in
yeah.
the front, the anterior core brace that I needed. And there's a thing known as the scissor line fault
Yep.
in squatting, and it's just where the lower back compresses and arches so much that you get an injury. So doing things like the hollow body hold,
Yep.
doing things like the L sit,
Handstand shape.
yeah, like
Yep.
creating length and strength to help
Bingo.
recondition the core and get it to the right alignment. That's been
Pike.
big. Yeah.
Bro. Rectus fem on fire. Also, front squat. Guys, hit a zercher, hit a front squat however you need to. It doesn't matter if you're up here, if you don't have
Mm,
the wrist and shoulder capacity. A lot of the time, you're not going to get the same compression through the lower back, especially if you are flexible.
yeah.
Um, back squat's not available for everyone,
Yes.
and front squat is, and it's going to make you strong as hell.
And you can always use the kettlebell as opposed to the barbell.
For sure. Don't try and copy your friend, the rugby bro, who's squatting half reps, 150, 180 kilo. Doesn't count.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd also say barbell step ups is a great one.
Well, love it.
If you're wanting to build the lower body and the low back's been a bit iffy, same
Yep.
lunge type movement pattern. It's really,
Sure.
really important.
Yep. Absolutely, mate. Is that us, brother?
That's us. That's a
Bro, what a good yarn.
good episode. We were both excited to recount our injuries and setbacks and how it's allowed us to grow.
We're unstoppable.
Yeah, yeah. It's important to highlight that to the audience, knowing that like I'm in the best physical shape I've ever been now, and even with this lower back niggle, I'm still strong and functional in many different skills. It's just this bloody squat I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, for sure. You need a task. You need something to focus on.
Yeah. Okay, so Steve, mate, we're gonna see you back here for episode 7. I look forward to it.
Mate, I can't wait. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Catch up again soon.
Ka kite.